You're in the middle of a conversation and something shifts. Someone says something, not even that harsh, not even that loud, and you feel it, not just in your head, in your chest, in the space between your ribs, and before anyone else in the room even blinks, you've already noticed the tension, already felt the other person's discomfort, already started quietly adjusting yourself so the moment doesn't break. Nobody taught you to do that. You just do it, and then later, alone, you replay the whole thing. Not because you're insecure, but because you're paying attention to something most people walk right past. That's not anxiety. That's not overthinking. That's something else entirely. There's a kind of intelligence that doesn't show up on any test. It doesn't get you a certificate or a promotion or a round of applause. It lives quietly inside you. In the way you read a room before you enter it, in the way you hold space for someone who can't even name what they're feeling, in the way you know, somehow, that the argument was never really about what it was about. This is emotional intelligence. And if you've clicked on this video, there's a good chance you have more of it than you realize. Here are 7 signs. The first sign is that you feel emotions before you understand them. Most people either feel too much and can't explain it, or explain everything and feel nothing, but you sit in a strange middle place. You feel deeply and then, slowly, you start to decode it. Something's off. You don't know why yet, but you trust that feeling enough to stay with it. Psychologists call this emotional granularity, the ability to identify and distinguish between your emotional states with precision. Research by Dr. Stretty, Lisa Feldman Barrett found that people with high emotional granularity don't just feel bad, they feel disappointed versus lonely versus ashamed. And that distinction matters, because the more specifically you can name what you feel, the more effectively your brain can respond to it. You're not dramatic, you're precise. The second sign is that you can hold 2 contradictory feelings at the same time and not collapse under the weight of that. You love someone and you're angry at them. You're proud of yourself and terrified of failing. You want something so badly it hurts, and part of you is already preparing for it not to happen. Most people can't do this. They choose one emotion to stand on, and they push the other one down. But you don't. You let both exist. You sit with the contradiction, and somehow that doesn't break you. That's called emotional complexity, and it's one of the rarest, most quietly powerful things a person can carry. The third sign is that you've learned not to react to everything that deserves a reaction. There's a moment. You know this moment where something happens and your whole body wants to respond. Something sharp rises in your throat. But you pause. Not because you're afraid, not because you don't care, but because you've learned, somewhere along the way, that not every fire needs your oxygen. Viktor Frankl wrote about the space between stimulus and response. That space, he said, is where human freedom lives. When you choose how to respond rather than simply reacting, when you pause in that space, even for a breath, you are exercising a form of emotional mastery that most people never develop, and it costs you something every time. But it also gives you something back. The fourth sign is that you're deeply uncomfortable with dishonesty, especially your own. You can't perform feelings you don't have. You can't say, "I'm fine," when your whole nervous system is screaming otherwise. You try sometimes, but it feels wrong in a way you can't ignore, not because you're dramatic, because something in you refuses to abandon itself. This discomfort with emotional dishonesty is a hallmark of high self-awareness. It means your internal compass is working. It means you've built enough of a relationship with your own inner world that betraying it feels like a real loss. The fifth sign is that you feel other people's emotional weight without them saying a word. Someone walks into the room, and something in you already knows. They're off. They're hurting. They're holding something they haven't said yet. You don't know how you know. You just do. Neuroscientists call this the mirror neuron system, the part of the brain that allows us to internally simulate the emotional and physical states of others. But not everyone's system fires with the same sensitivity. Yours does. You pick up frequencies that most people can't even hear. And sometimes that's a gift. And sometimes it's exhausting because you absorb what others carry without being asked to. The key, when you're this sensitive isn't to shut it down. It's to learn the difference between your feelings and everyone else's. That's the work. That's the ongoing, often invisible work. The sixth sign is that your relationships tend to go deep very quickly, or not at all. Small talk drains you. Surface-level connections feel somehow dishonest, like you're both agreeing to pretend. You'd rather sit in silence with someone you trust than talk for hours with someone you don't. You want to know what people are actually afraid of, what they actually love, what they'd say if they stopped performing. And because you offer that depth yourself, people feel safe with you. They tell you things they haven't told anyone. They don't always know why, but you do. It's because they can feel, somewhere beneath the words, that you're actually present, that you're actually listening, not to respond, but to understand. The seventh sign is the quietest one, and it might be the most important. You've been hurt, genuinely hurt, and instead of hardening, you stayed soft. That's not naivety. That's not weakness. That is one of the most difficult emotional achievements a human being can reach, because the easy thing, the thing the nervous system begs you to do, is to close, to protect, to decide that vulnerability is the problem and that armor is the solution. But you didn't do that. Or if you did, you eventually took the armor off again. You chose to stay open to the world, even after the world gave you reasons not to. That choice, made quietly, in private, without applause, that is emotional courage. Emotional intelligence isn't about being calm all the time. It isn't about never breaking down, never getting it wrong, never saying the thing you immediately wish you could take back. It's about returning. It's about the willingness to look at yourself honestly, to feel what's actually there, and to keep showing up for the people and the moments that matter. You are not too sensitive. You are not too much. You are not broken because you feel things deeply in a world that tells you not to. You are, in the most accurate sense of the word, paying attention, and that is rarer than you know. Thank you for watching.